Hello, welcome back to Orphan Espresso. I'm Doug again.
I'm Barb.
And I better cut right to the chase here. This video is how to install the lower bearing system in a Hario Skerton or a Kyocera CM-50 to enhance coarse grinding. And if you watched the previous video, you'll know that these are pretty much the same grinder. And they grind fine, very well. That's what they're designed for. But to get a good coarse grind, we basically have to stabilize the bottom part of the bearing. We have to add a second bearing in order to get the stability needed for a coarse grind. So we'll just cut right to the chase. I'll show you how to do this. Take your jar, set it aside. Remove the top parts. There's a nylon washer there. Okay. Now, the first thing you do is take the burr. This is a I've had to grind it off a little bit to get it to fit, but if you can't use a socket, you find any particular tool to take the burr off of the axle. That's first. Alright. Now you'll notice there's little weirdly shaped, I don't know if you can see it there.
On the tape, oh yeah.
Weirdly shaped, this is a plastic washer, and this is part of the alignment problems that can happen with these, because these washers aren't as uniform as you'd want them to be, but we do upgrade the washer. Here we have the axle. Now, what I do is that I take a brass washer, thusly, and I take this and I file it out into an oblong shape. We have tried to find the perfect size washer. This is the only way to do it. And I test it to make sure it fits through here. Okay, this will be provided in the kit. A pre-filed washer will be provided in the kit. Okay, but that's part of it. So I've got my washer. I know it fits there on that. Okay, you can take any Phillips head screwdriver and remove the 4 screws that hold the collar. Okay, if you have any type of little power driver, I hope you can see, look over my shoulder. See okay there, Barb?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a little power driver, it makes things go faster. Okay.
Power tools.
Power tools. All right. Dump out my 4 little screws. Now you'll see what you have here. You have 4 plastic collars. The Hario looks exactly the same. I just was in there looking at it. Okay. This lower bearing fits right in there. See, it's nice and snug between those 4 posts. You install that in there. Now, you notice that there's these little bumps that hold that in there. You make sure the bumps are in the right place. Now I use I've done this more than 100 times. I use a little follower to find the hole. Little probe that I put it in there. Okay, there's that hole. I align 2 of the holes. Now install the screws. And
you use this tool
to align
in the hole to align it
just
with.
as a guide. And then I take that, I push it in the hole, and I put in the 4 screws. This is the easy part. We have been asked many times about the Skerton, and we have not had it. We know that there are far more Hario Skertons in the world than there are CM-50s. Now you just drive these in a little bit. Don't tighten up the ring. I just move these down. Regular Phillips screwdriver will do it.
You don't want to over tighten those?
No, I don't. You don't even want to touch the metal. You want it to still be loose and sloppy because you have to do your alignment operation. I just use this for convenience and habit. Okay, see, everything is still loose. Now, you take the axle, you insert it through the bearing. Okay, you'll notice at this point, there's not a lot of slop left in the system. You take your washer that has the oblong hole in it.
That's the brass washer
It's
from
the
the
brass
kit.
washer from the kit, and it will just, let me see, I've got to find my flat side. All right, it sits right down on the machined edge of that axle, and it sits down there flat. Now you take you put this on, you take one,
That's the burr.
that's the burr, you take one of their nylon washers, which basically acts to tighten against the metal nut, and you drop it down over there. Then you come in with your metal nut. Where's my nut? There it is. Okay, you get this started, and you begin what can be a tedious and frustrating procedure. All right. As I said, I've done over 100 of these. I have no standard good way to explain how to do this. I have tried to find a secret, a method, an answer, but it is just fiddly. Okay, the first thing you do is you tighten this down. Now, you see, that just falls right down in there. It's just as self-centering as can be. Now, so let's just say, go ahead, tighten these down. It's going to be my luck that I'm going to get this on the first time, but I don't think I ever have. Now you have to go through an alignment procedure, and I didn't even mention what I'm doing. I'm holding that with my finger and feeling when the nuts get tight, or when the screws get tight. You don't want to over tighten them. You can actually feel the burr move around a little bit. Okay, you snug those down. Now, you push this out and you begin inspecting. You want to make sure that it's, one thing you want to do is make sure it's tight. Look at that, I didn't get it tightened. Okay, now it's tight. Okay, since you're going to use this on a coarse setting, you want to make sure you're getting this set right for press. This has two sides, a smooth side and a cut side. You back this off a little bit. Put your finger prongs on it to hold it in place. Alright, now you hold it to the side and you start examining it. You want to make sure, that inner burr is flat in relationship to the outer burr. Alright, and you look at it, and you look at it to the side. You see how it's cockeyed? You see that?
Yes.
It's higher on one side than the other. So, you loosen it up, and you hold it tight when you do this, and you start to fiddle. Okay, it was high on this side, so I'll make sure I got the washer in the right place. And once again, tighten it down, hold it there with your fingers. Now you start to think, well, there's got to be a good way to do this. Because I think what I've done is I've pushed it right back into the same place where it used to be. Now you take a look at it. And you turn it around. You see how it seems to wobble across the top? This is part of their manufacturing. Is that some of them most of them aren't exactly smooth across the top. And so what you have to do, you have to look at the junction where let me back this up just a little bit more so you can see that junction. You have to follow the line, and this alignment procedure can be fiddly. And you may have to do this half a dozen or a dozen times before you get it. Okay, you want to look at the junction.
But once you get it, it doesn't
Once
have
you
to
get
be
it,
done
it's
again.
done. See, this is the place where there's no teeth. And then you see this section where the teeth start. This is what you want. That line of teeth is the part that you want to be parallel to the top of the outer burr.
So the actual outside surface of the burr doesn't matter. It's the line of teeth.
It's the
that
line of
matters.
teeth, because if you follow that outside surface, you're going to go crazy doing this. And you really examine it. Now, I don't quite have it right, but... And you can turn it down in there. It doesn't hurt anything. Don't jam it. Okay, to me, it's not quite straight, but you'd be exacting. I can look at this side. You see how it's cockeyed now? The teeth are higher on this side than they are on that side. So I generally, you just stay at it, and believe me, it can be done. It's not like this is an impossibility. It's unfortunately, it's trial and error. And I'll go back this way and wiggle it around a little bit, and then turn it upside down and do these various things.
So what you're resetting is actually the burr on the rod,
You're burring,
not the bearing.
it's the burr sitting on the washer
Okay.
that's sitting on the rod. Now, you ask, well then, why not use the plastic washer? Believe me, trust me here. The plastic washer makes everything just 100% worse. This is a major improvement, because it is, and every time you have to tighten it, and then you have to look at it. And to see it, you want to get it as even as possible, and you keep turning it around. Now, that's fairly good, but you just keep studying it. And if you think you don't have it straight, you go back and you do it again. Now, you look at this thing, all right, and listen to it. Turning it backwards. Now, once you get this part straight, you have to go in and reset the outer, in this case. So I loosen all 4 screws with my screwdriver that's 10 times too long, but it's the one I always use because it has a good bit. Now you come back in here and you loosen these, and you once again, what did the guy say? Do I have to just fiddle and futz with this? He loosened it up and inspected it. You basically get it recentered, hold the thing again with your finger, because now your inner burr is set. You hold it with your finger, you tighten that one until you can feel the outer burr go down. Then you tighten this one. Make sure you don't strip those little plastic deals, the sockets. You tighten all 4 of them in an X pattern. Now, you look at it again. You look at it, and when I did that, that's pretty good. And you can look at it and you can see the gap all the way around. And you want that gap on a coarse setting to be fairly even. So you inspect it, you look at it again, you look at it sideways, turn it around, check for that gap. Frankly, it's a little off, but it's not too bad. Okay, there's the installation. Make sure everything is tight. There's the installation. It can take you an hour to do this. It can take you 10 minutes to do this. It's very unpredictable because there is a variation between one grinder to another, just exactly the conformation of this burr. But you continue to examine, you be very, very critical, and if it looks crooked, it is crooked. And so you loosen it up, move it around, trial and error, experiment, do whatever you need to do.
And do it when you have time and patience.
Yeah, time and patience. And if you start to lose patience with it, just set it aside and come back to it. Because as I said, right now, as much as I want that to be straight, that inner burr is not exactly straight. So I have to redo that again and then come back and reset this again and go back and forth until I have everything aligned. Once it's done, it's done. But be prepared to do a lot of fiddling and a lot of swearing, for lack of a better word, I suppose it is. Now at this point, now that you have this on here, this is as far out as it will come. It doesn't slide out anymore because of that bearing. The bearing has a very tight tolerance because we didn't want it flopping around. And you see, here's our brass washer is installed here, and it gives a pretty complete support for the outside, not just one little plastic thing on the inside. And so you want to clean it, you run that out, brush it here, brush it in there, put it all back together, it'll still be aligned. You don't have any problems with that. But it is a fussy, fiddly procedure, and I've got years of experience and thousands of grinders behind me on this. I have no set way to do this except the trial and error. Get it done right, take your time, hope for the best, and once you're done, you have a good, stable burr for coarse grinding, and you'll be very pleased with your French press or your other coarse grind methods of grinding with this very economical grinder. Hario Skerton, Kyocera CM-50, identical mill, identical procedure, and identical kit that comes for either one. Good luck to you in doing this, and we hope that the grinder serves you well.